What's going on, guys? Jacob Borth back here with another video of Jacob's Life in Vegas, and I want to tell you guys a story today. That's what I'll share with you guys about how I got my first job in Las Vegas. I get a lot of people asking me about finding jobs here, whether it's in Vegas or North Las Vegas or Henderson or whatever the case may be. A lot of you getting ready to move here. I know this is kind of might seem like a really daunting task for you. Might seem like it's going to be scary. We're trying to move to another state. You're moving to Nevada from whatever state you live in now, and you want to find a job, obviously, because you want to keep a roof over your head and you want to actually do well when you come out here. So let me share with you guys a story of how I got my first job here in Las Vegas. I was living in California at the time. I was finishing school. I had played football in school, and the last year I was in school, I had already finished football. I still had another year of school left to go. When I had made the choice, I wanted to come and actually check this place out and move here. I mean, even before I came to visit, I was fairly committed to just moving here already. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go ahead and go with that. I didn't want to stay in California anymore. So I started to do what really, I think is a good move to do, and I just started asking around to people who, had I thought might have some kind of connection to Las Vegas. I started asking around the football team, or the athletic department, if you will. On our staff, there was one kind of like an assistant who he actually lived in Las Vegas, and I think he may have worked with UNLV in football before he came to San Jose. And I'll talk to him a little bit about neighborhoods there and working there. He actually worked security at a nightclub, which is funny because he was not like a big guy by any means. So I thought Vegas, was gonna have the biggest security guys and stuff. And there's some truth to that, but there's plenty of other average guys just working security. I had a coach who had coached at UNLV before he came to San Jose. So I definitely went to him, asked, I had one relative who he works with a guy at his job, and that guy he worked with went to UNLV, was in a fraternity here. So he put me in touch with that guy. Who else? I had my old bosses that I used to work with in nightlife in California, who they tried to put me in touch with a couple people out here in the Las Vegas area. So I mean, I pulled any and every possible connection I could actually think of as far as coming out here to the Vegas area. And really, it was the coach, my coach who used to coach UNLV, who ended up being the big help, because he's able to put me in touch with a few of his former players. He put me in touch actually with one guy in particular, who I called him. He goes, call this guy, because he knew this guy had worked in nightlife. So I called this guy who wasn't working, he wasn't even living in Nevada anymore. But he goes, okay, told him what I was looking to do. He goes, okay, well then call this guy, my old teammate from UNLV, who was still working in nightlife. And that guy was really helpful. Talked to him. He's told me where he was working at, so I went and interviewed at that club. When I came down here, he goes, oh yeah, my old teammate from UNLV is one of the supervisors at this club now. So I'm like, okay, cool. I ended up interviewing with that guy later. And it was funny because the day, or well, I guess 2 days before I went to come to Vegas to come visit, I took about 5 or 6 days right before my semester was done, my last semester of school, flew out here for almost a week and visited the area, looked for jobs, all that kind of thing. And right before I did that, 2 days before, I stopped into my old coach's office. So when I go in to see my coach, 2 days before I'm gonna just fly out to Vegas and try to find a job and get ready to live here, he goes, oh, did you talk to so-and-so? And he gave me another player. And I'm like, no, I'm like, you didn't mention that guy before. He goes, oh yeah, he goes, you should give him a call too. And he gave me the guy's number, and I was like, what the hell? I was kind of how come you didn't mention this before? But it was cool because any contact I could get, I was happy to reach out to him and talk to him. So I ended up calling that guy, the second guy my coach gave me as a contact, right before I came out there. And the guy called me back, and he was like, oh yeah, you play for Coach so-and-so. I really liked him when I was at UNLV. And when you get on out here, he was like, I can try to help you. Because this guy had worked nightclubs and gentlemen's clubs. He had done both. So he had experience working in both. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks a lot, man. I'll hit you up when I get out there. So I come out here, I stayed at the Imperial Palace on this trip. That was where I stayed at the time when they were doing construction at that place. And having roaches in my room and having to get my move to another room because I had roaches in there and stuff. So I came out here, and then ended up meeting my first night here, a guy who was an independent nightlife host who I got in touch with because one of my classmates in school was a big online poker player. Played a lot of online poker, and he kind of knew the guy that was here in Vegas who was online a lot. He was on the 2+2 forums a lot, and actually ended up doing pretty well in the World Series of Poker later after I met him. So I met up with that guy who's just another person I met through I was just reaching and grabbing for any contact I could get my hands on. And Met up with that guy first night. We got to Excess nightclub. He's hosting a group, and you know, it was cool to get to hang out with them. Like, we're on the stage, right? We're at a bottle booth, like on stage, like right behind the DJ booth. I mean, I don't even know. I didn't like there. I'm like, I don't even know how much this costs, but this is pretty cool. Just hanging out with them, and then the next night, the next day during the daytime, I interviewed with the guy who was a supervisor at one nightclub who used to play UNLV. Had a pretty decent interview, I would say. And then that night, I went out with the other guy who used to play for my same coach from UNLV. He actually picked me up, drove me around to, gosh, it must have been, I'm gonna say at least 5, maybe 6 different gentlemen's clubs to pick up applications, talk to people. I mean, the guy was beyond helpful. They ended up taking me to a place where he used to work. And I go in there, he goes in with me actually. Some people recognize him, like, oh, hey, what's going on, man? They're talking to him, saying hi. And he knew people at the club, obviously, he had worked there. And then the guy that was the independent nightlife host, that was, you know, the poker player too, he knew people at that club too. So when I applied, I put both their names down as references, because they both knew managers there, they both knew staff there at that place. So I apply, do all that, leave my application there, and then I'm out front talking just to like some of the hosts on staff, just talking to some of the guys outside, and I tell them, oh yeah, I live in San Jose right now, I'm going to San Jose State. And then one of the guys out front, who ended up being one of the managers there, overheard me, and he goes, oh, he goes, San Jose State. And he was like, you say San Jose State? And I was like, yeah, I go there right now. And he was like, I went to San Jose State. And the guy's like, you know, at least 10 years older than me. And I said, oh yeah, I said, I'm going there. I said, live on this street. He goes, dude, because I live like 1 street over from there, right? And he and I start talking back and forth a little bit. And you know, so he and I are chatting away. I said, yeah, I just gonna want to move out here and start working in nightlife. I've done it in California, you know, want to come out to Vegas. I'm out here this week, like looking for a job. So I'm talking to the guy for a while, and he goes, you know, he goes, come back tomorrow. He said, you know, like at, you know, 10 o'clock. I was like, come back like at 10 o'clock, so I'll introduce you to the hiring manager. And I'm like, awesome. This is like my second day in Vegas. So I'm like, awesome. So do that, and then come back the next night, interview with the hiring manager, and talk to him for a little bit. He likes me, and then he goes, okay, well, in about 2 hours, the general manager will be here. He was like, and then, you know, you can talk to him, and then, you know, we'll go from there. So he was like, you want to leave and come back? That's fine. I didn't even leave. I just hung outside the front of the club and just talked to the staff and just waited 2 hours. I was not about to leave. Like, not when I'm that close to getting the job. I was not about to leave the place. So hung out for a couple hours, got to talk to the GM, talked with him, and he liked me. And then he goes, okay. He was like, well, he's like, we'll hire you, but you have to get all your work cards. He was like, before the end of the week, like before you leave to go back to California. So, and I've talked about that before, the work cards you need. I needed the TAM card, the health card, which now they call like the food handler's card, food handler safety card, and then the sheriff's card. So I had to get all 3 of those like in the next like 2 days. And it's like, okay, cool. Did that, made it happen. And then the last day I was here, like hours before I left on the plane to go back, I signed a lease to go stay at a place. I mean, I'd done everything like in a week. It was crazy how it happened. And some people listen to that and they're gonna like, oh, well, the manager overheard you. You just got lucky. He happened to go to the same school, or, you know, you got lucky that this guy came and picked you up and like took you around. Okay, you could, some people might say there's a part of that. Okay, luck, I'm not sure how much I actually believe in luck. Okay, I think a lot of times people who are lazy like to use luck as an excuse. But here's the deal. It happened. More than the luck, I actually took action to make all that stuff happen. Okay, I decided, hey, I'm going to Vegas, okay? I was like, I'm gonna move here one way or another. If I didn't get any job or anything when I went there that week, I was probably gonna finish school, work, try to save up some money, then come back and apply like closer to the summertime when I knew more clubs were hiring and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I pulled and reached for every contact I could think of. Anybody who had anything I thought might have to do with Vegas, I asked them, do you know anybody out there? Do you know anybody out there? What do you think about this neighborhood? What do you think here? You know, what's it like trying to get a job here? I was reaching out to as many people as I possibly could when I was doing that. So one, that was one thing. Two, I made the commitment to actually come out here for a week and look for work. I had to put in my own money, take off time from school, come here, and I was like, okay, like this is it. This is like do or die time. And then another thing I did, some people may not believe in this kind of thing. I'm very much a believer in energy in the universe, energy that you create. And what I did for a while, aside from like thinking about myself working in Vegas and thinking of and trying to see myself living here and see myself working in Las Vegas and building a life here, I did one thing, one little exercise where I printed out a bunch of like blank checks. and I actually wrote on them. I don't know if I did it every day. It may have been every day, maybe just once a week or every few days. And I actually wrote on the check, wrote the check out to myself, but like it was from like, you know, a company that I was working for, like a club I was working at or whatever it was. And I would actually write that out to myself, and I would write like, you know, the party, write like a little memo. I'd write like, you know, like welcome to the team or welcome to the club or glad to have you, something like that. So I would look like in my head like I was getting paid already from a club. I was already getting a paycheck from this place. And it's funny because the place I really had initially wanted to work at, and the place I was writing like those checks, you know, I was writing the checks for myself, I did not get hired at that place actually. I think we did hire somewhere else, but nonetheless, I got myself in the door because I went, took action, went about, tried to do what I could to make it happen, and things worked in my favor. I'm a big believer that when you actually take action and you go and you put your energy and you direct your attention, energy, and focus in a certain direction, good things are much, much, much more likely to happen to you than just waltzing up, than just, you know, waltzing around kind of aimlessly. You're not sure if you want to come, you're not sure if you do or you don't, you know, you're not really looking that hard for a job, you only want to do one type of job, so you don't really push yourself that hard. Then it's like, well, just hope you can get lucky. I guess you can hope at that point if you want, but I mean, said I looked for references. I got people who were willing, was fortunate to get someone who was willing to drive me around and help me out, you know. I was taking action. I was just going. I was just going and trying to do interviews wherever I could, look where I could, find some connection, some way to get my foot in the door. And I got my foot in the door, and then from there I've been able to build from there. So that's one of the big things I tell people is to get in somewhere and then just go from there and build from where you can. But none of that would have happened if I didn't like actually take action, if I didn't actually get up, say, okay, I'm doing this, I'm putting my money, I'm putting my own money up front, taking my own time to do this, and I'm gonna go ahead and move and start my life somewhere else. You have to take action for those things to happen, okay? They didn't just come to me, right? No one called me from Vegas while I was sitting in San Jose and said, hey, you want a job here in Vegas? That didn't happen. I had to go get it. I had to come here and get it, put up my own time investment and my own money to go make that happen. So that's my story of how I got my first job. Take bits and pieces from it, whatever you guys want. Use it to help you. If you're gonna come here, look for a job, whatever connection you can think of, all that kind of good stuff, and then just go from there and do what you can to get a job and get hired here in Vegas and start your life here, okay? That's gonna be it for this video. I'm Jacob, this is My Life in Vegas.